Ayrton Senna and McLaren make it 3 in a row with a victory at the San Marino Grand Prix. We'll go behind the scenes to find out how on Inside Track, the official story of the FIA Formula One World Championship. It's race day, and the organizers of the San Marino Grand Prix are expecting a record crowd of over 200,000 here at the Autodromo Enzo and Tino Ferrari in Imola. This normally quiet provincial town is transformed by the arrival of the Grand Prix circuit. Wednesday, April 24th, 4 days before the race, the big transporters that carry the Formula One cars start to arrive in Imola. Of primary importance is to claim your space in the paddock fairly early. Otherwise, parking can be quite a chore, to say the least. Once the trucks are in place, it's time to unload the cars, the spares, all the accessories needed for the race weekend. The Republic of San Marino lends its name to the race, even though Imola is about an hour's drive from the tiny republic itself. Perched on top of a narrow mountain formation, San Marino is one of the most unique locations in the world. The medieval walled town attracts not only tourists, but late spring snow as well. In fact, it was snow that attracted many top Formula One drivers for the annual ski week at the Italian resort of Val di Fassa in early April. The Fassa Valley is the home of Italian skiing sensation Alberto Tomba, who has many friends and admirers among the Formula One set. Part of the week's activities included a football match, in which Tomba joined the Formula One 11 against the local side. Among those drivers were Stefan Johansson, Pierluigi Martini, Gabriele Tarquini, Riccardo Patrese, Ivan Capelli, Andrea De Cesaris, and Olivier Gouillard. Gabriele Tarquini was particularly impressive as he laid on this cross for Andrea De Cesaris to head in.
Gabriele, you certainly know how to play football, and in Valforza it looked like you had a very good time. Tell me about the time in Valforza you had.
Sì, adesso sono il più...
English.
No, English no.
Just try in English,
We have a good team in Socio now because I play very well and De Cesaris play very well and we are together, we enjoy together.
And the skiing?
Skiing is not very good because I prefer the Socio. Socio, tennis, not very good skiing.
And how about Johansson, is a good goalkeeper?
Yes, Johansson is the best, the best goalkeeper.
Now tell me about this car that you're driving. This is your own private car, or is it just something to fool around in on the weekend?
Yeah, Prima car is very, very good. But I prefer my IGS.
But the big attraction of the weekend was the ski race. And although Jean Alesi didn't participate, he still had a good time watching his friends.
You know, it was a great time, especially because we are with all the drivers, sponsors, and it's for fun, not for racing. So this Val de Fas are very nice because it's in the mountain, very high in altitude. So I had a great time.
Riccardo Patrese won the race, with Gerhard Berger second and Andrea De Cesaris third. In short, it was a good time had by all. And while on the subject of good times, April also saw the wedding of Martin Donnelly to his longtime girlfriend, Diana McWhirter. They were married in St. James's Church, Great Ellingham, in Norfolk, England. It was, quite literally, an important step for Donnelly, this being his first public appearance without the aid of crutches. Donnelly has made great progress since his 200-kilometre-an-hour shunt in Jerez last year, thanks largely to the treatment he's been receiving at the Willi Dungal Clinic in Austria. One of the biggest events of the motor racing calendar took place at the Dorchester Hotel in London in April, as Juan Manuel Fangio was honoured by friends and family on the occasion of his 80th birthday. Among the guests, Nigel Mansell, Tony Brooks, Sterling Moss, and John Surtees. His record of 28 Grand Prix victories in only 51 races is a testament to his consistency. His 5 World Championships remain unmatched by any driver. His first title came in 1951 with Alfa Romeo. Then in 1954, he took the Drivers' Championship with Mercedes. He won the following year, again with Mercedes, with 2 more titles following in 1956 and 1957 for Ferrari and Maserati. He remains to this day a national hero in his native Argentina and throughout the motor racing world.
Che America del Sud piace molto l'automobilismo.
Most people, in fact the whole of South America, is in love with motorsport, and therefore many young men today attempt to enter into motorsport and to race. Today they have go-karts to begin the first rung of the ladder into top motorsport with. In my day, of course, go-karts didn't exist. But really, I had a tremendous love of the mechanics, the engine, the chassis, the motor car. And it was a love that started when I was extremely young. And it was that which, because as I gathered knowledge about the motor car, I became more and more in love with the motor car. and it was that which drew me closer and closer to motor racing. But I've always been a mechanic, and when I came to Europe to compete in Grand Prix for the first time, in the first year, I was a mechanic for my team. Later, of course, when I drove for teams which were very important, like Alfa Romeo, Maserati, so forth, Mercedes-Benz, they had, of course, their own brilliant mechanics. I didn't have to do it, but in the first year I did. I love mechanics.
He had great stamina, so whatever he did, whatever lap time he could post, he could do it once, twice, 3, 4, do it for 3 hours, which the races were in those days. He had tremendous ability to balance the motor car, to the judgment that he would work with. Perhaps I can best explain. I saw Ascari, who was, I think, one of the greats as well, at Bari. He came around this corner in a real power slide, and he just touched the straw bale and went on. At every lap he was doing this. Fangio came round in the same race, same sort of speed, same sort of power, but he didn't touch the straw bale, he just flicked the straws. And to me, that just showed me the difference between just nudging it, I don't mean badly, just nudging it or just whispering it. And the skill that Fangio would drive, or the precision, was, I think, what set him apart. That, together with all the other things that go to make a great driver, I mean, obviously concentration and so on, but he was quite an exceptional driver.
Of course, by the time I started car racing, he had already retired. But I met him and had quite a number of talks, actually. In fact, just before I joined Ferrari in 1963, we sort of were talking to him and he said, pay attention, it can be very dangerous at Ferrari. And that's something which I really remember and appreciate of him.
Well, I'm pleased to say that he was a little bit before my time, but no, certainly you look over the history books and the old TV footage, and I mean, what a great driver in his time, and I mean, what a great gentleman. I can remember meeting him personally back in 1978, 79 in the Midlands when he came and did a demonstration there. And he gave me a little bit of advice then, all those years back, and that was before I got into Formula One. And I'll always remember those first words that he said, and I know you're going to ask me what they were, and they were private.
In France, I mean, especially when somebody is driving very quick on the road, it's you drive like Fangio, you know, and it's a name very well known, you know, in France.
Well, Fangio is, without any doubt, the biggest name in the motorsport after Ferrari.
La gente viaggiamo in macchina, non in aereo.
The drivers of my day were all a bit like me. In fact, they raced because they were passionately fond of racing. They loved racing. It was a lot different then. For instance, at the end of a race, there was an end of race party, dinner and party, which all the drivers stayed for and used to go to. And that created a far greater sort of friendship between us all, people like Mike Hawthorne, Peter Collins, Sterling, than perhaps exists today. And that's no criticism of the kind of racing that exists today from my point of view. We had no sponsors in those days. Now sponsorship is extremely important. But the sponsors for their investment, of course, require things from the drivers of today, which often means that the drivers don't perhaps mix so much among themselves because they have responsibilities to all their sponsors. There's that which is different. But of course, in my day, the cars themselves, both to develop, to produce and to race, obviously cost a great deal more, even allowing for the difference in the value of the dollar today and the value of the dollar in those days. Today, of course, the cost is extremely high. We need the sponsors for that reason.
Even if it was possible to compare, I would say that his titles are 5, and his achievements are unique because at his time he was the best, and nobody has ever been able to come near to him. So it doesn't really matter whether it's easier or more difficult in the modern Formula One to win. What it really matters is what he has done in his time when everybody was in the same regulations, in the same time, and he was the best.
running louder here. Picking up the 5th aeroplane tomorrow in Seattle. We're flying scheduled service to Hong Kong, Bangkok, Sydney, Seoul, Taipei, London. Everything is going very well.
You still watch Formula One regularly on TV when you have a chance?
Yes, in television or, as I said today, here.
And if it was 10 years earlier, would you like to have had a go at Senna, because nobody else seems to be able to beat him?
I don't think it's clever to have a go at Senna, because in the moment there's nobody who can give him a go. And again here, I think he's right under controls of everything.
What brings you to Imola?
Formula One brings me always to the Grand Prix. This is the first one I visit this year, and obviously it's great to see all the development and all the old friends.
And how do you like sports cars? You had a pretty good start to the season.
Well, we've only done one race, which was obviously far away from home, so I think that the atmosphere in Monza will be quite different, and to get into the European season is going to tell the real character of the sports car racing. But I like to be driving again, yes, a lot.
Two young Finnish drivers have particular promise. Mika Häkkinen is one of them. Tell us a little bit about Häkkinen.
I think I can say honestly I'm as surprised as everybody else, because I mean I obviously knew and believed that he was and is very good, but he seems to have taken the Formula One world by storm, you know, and he's doing very well. But we still have to remember it's a young driver in making. It's going to take a while until he's ready for the big ones.
What about JJ Leto?
I think JJ's done nearly a complete season with Onyx before. He's a little bit more knowledgeable already about Grand Prix racing. He's in a very good team at the moment. I think Scuderia has an excellent car. I just hope that he starts finishing races and gets the results he deserves.
Right now it looks like McLaren and Senna are unbeatable. Are they unbeatable?
Formula One, nobody's ever unbeatable, you know, and a dominance only takes a while. But Senna is very professional. He sets the measure for the others, and they've got to do better.
Two-time world champion Emerson Fittipaldi was obviously pleased to see some old friends. Cesare Fioria, Nelson Piquet, and of course Ayrton Senna.
Well, I'm very pleased, very happy, you know, to see all my friends. I think it's great, you know. I have a good feeling, and so nice to see people that I work together, race against, and it's a beautiful feeling.
Watching you come up through the crowds down there, it's obvious that Formula One hasn't forgotten you. Do you still remember your days here?
Oh, I mean, I think we always have great memories from Formula One. I always try to remember the good times I had in Formula One. Like any sport, you never try to remember the bad times, and I had great times, and in Italy is an important place for me. It was the first time, my first World Championship I won here in Italy. I mean, it has always bring nice memories to be back here.
Alberto Tomba came along to wish some of his friends good luck.
Prese, Larini, Italian guys, much better.
Maybe one day you would like to try driving a Formula One car?
Too big, Alberto, for
Usual barrage of questions from journalists from around the world.
What did you do in between Brazil and Imola to relax?
I stay in Brazil most of the time, and I try to enjoy some of the rain we had after the race, but basically the good weather that we have in this time of the year, and just stay away from the racing car as long as I could, as one of my last opportunities in this season, and then come to Europe for some testing, getting everything prepared for the race in Imola and also for the next few races.
Alessandro Nannini was a welcome addition in the Benetton motorhome. The hand that was reattached off his helicopter accident last year is improving all the time, and Sandro seemed in great spirits.
How are things for you physically right now?
It's not okay for the moment. Still a problem, and but I make a lot of jogging, a lot of gymnastics in the arm, and I hope it should be better in the next 3, 4, 5 months. But it's very long because we must wait the nerve. The growth of the nerve is very slowly.
But there is improvement all the time, so that's an encouraging sign.
No, but the movement, I have all the movement and the arm, but it's too short because I have still a little problem on the muscles of the arm, but it's nearly good. It's not bad. We must check in the next 2-3 months where we are.
Benetton have been very supportive for you. They've helped you out and stood behind you.
Yes, but no, it's not a problem for Benetton. No, I have friends in Benetton. I know the boss of Benetton. I had every time a good relation with Benetton. And the problem is not with Benetton, the problem is my problem. It's not supported from the people because I like, okay, but this is my problem. I must to put power, you understand? I must to give 100%, but from me.
I understand also that you've been driving your own car. It's been nice?
It should be nice in the future. For the moment I can drive just the normal car, the car of my wife, and I think next week, on the next 10 days, I will be ready a new car. And I can drive. I have more free time for go around around Italy. I travel.
What do you think of John Barnard's new car?
John Barnard's new car is very nice because I saw the wing last week and it was very nice. And I knew the problem is not from the new car, but from the gearbox. They have still a little problem. And when they resolve this problem, I think in the next 2 races, in 1 month, they resolve the problem. Should we arrive a very good car, and I think they can fight with McLaren, with Williams and Ferrari.
Benetton were not the only team to unveil a new car at Imola. Footwork were hoping that this new Alan Jenkins
marketing sense, in other words, uniting good corporate companies with different promotional aspects, and that's the way we've tried to program the whole future of what we're trying to do.
And on the track this weekend, some people say that this is where the season really begins. You've had 2 cracks at it. Now you're going into Europe. How do you feel?
Well, I have to say the testing last week was very encouraging. We're going quicker every time we...
especially here in Italy, is Ferrari.
We think we have made quite a big improvement from São Paulo to now because we have a new front suspension, we have new aerodynamics, and also a good increase in the power of the engine. But we don't know whether this will be enough or not because Williams and McLaren seem to be very, very fast. And especially Williams, I think this year is doing a fantastic work.
This is Italy. Do you feel as if you're on trial?
Well, of course, here in Italy there is a lot of pressure. There will be, I don't know, 200,000 people around this circuit. And many of these will be for Ferrari, so we hope to do well. Otherwise, we must go out from the back door.
Throughout the winter, Ferrari has looked in top form with the fastest times in testing. But in Phoenix and Brazil, the potential the cars had shown in testing just wasn't evident. And there are many with their own opinions on why.
And I think Prost and Alesi is the most responsible from because they test all the winter time, make 1,000 miles. And they say, okay, the car is very competitive in January. Prost told everyone the car is competitive. So today is back to the competitive like in the end of the last season. So that means there was some mistake in the technical setup of the car.
The team does tend to get into disarray when there's political pressure, and there's a lot of pressure on Ferrari at the moment. And certainly when a team's in disarray, then it's hard going for the driver because he's trying to pull people together, or that's what, but you know, if things aren't right, and that's what is very much a driver's job out of the car, is to try, you know, when things aren't right, the team try and put it together, and Ferrari are very difficult. You know, it's a real swimming against the tide operation, especially when they're in disarray.
Cesare Fiorio, a man under pressure at Imola. Time out to try their hand at it. Jean Alesi finds it going frustrating. While Nigel Mansell arrives on a motorbike with wife Roseanne. He wouldn't miss an opportunity like this. Meanwhile, Riccardo Patrese is busy mastering his putting skills. Well, he's almost a master. But here comes Formula One's undisputed #1 in golf, and Nigel shows even the best sometimes miss. Meanwhile, Formula One rookie Eric van der Poel tries his hand at tennis. And he doesn't look bad either. Van der Poel had yet to qualify for a Grand Prix in the brand new Modena car. But with the Mauro Porghieri designed car and the power of the Lamborghini V12 engine, team owner Carlo
under extreme pressure. Alain Prost got going again, but further problems were to come his way. Engine problems later on in the same practice session, and the diminutive French driver, embarrassed to say the least, had to leave his Ferrari, make a quick dash across the track and get back to his pit as quickly as possible to try and get the spare car. Meantime, Ferrari's problems continued as Frenchman Jean Alesi came back into the pits with smoke starting to come out of the top of his engine cover, indicating another blown engine for Ferrari. Friday qualifying, and Ayrton Senna, business as usual in the McLaren, this time uncharacteristically going out for an early lap to set the early provisional pole position in the McLaren with that all-powerful Honda V12 engine. Ferrari's woeful weekend continued after Jean Alesi's car burst into flames due to a loose oil. But Patrese went out again for his second and final run in the first session in that Williams and retook provisional pole position in sensational style. Teammate Mansell, however, was having his problems getting past Fabrizio Barbazza, the new boy.
More or less, and the car, even with fuel, is working well, and we should not have a surprise on this level. In terms of reliability, we must see and work again, because we don't have a big problem, but we have small problems, and that's I would say normal, because we have done a lot of work in the last months, and we must pay for it a little bit. Even if I suppose that this day, I mean today, should be the worst.
For much of the race, Arnoux led the two Ferraris, but then the Renault blew its turbo and the fight for first was between Villeneuve and Pironi. Villeneuve led Pironi and team orders were to keep it that way. But Pironi decided otherwise and ended up taking the checkered flag. This caused a great rift between the two drivers, one that was never settled as Villeneuve died in practice for the next race in Zolder. Imola was Gilles' last race. Patrick Tambay replaced Villeneuve at Ferrari and in 1983 won his first race with the famous team.
Well, I could tell you a lot about that race. It's probably one of the most important for me. Obviously, I was driving the car number 27. The year after, Villeneuve and Pironi had a tremendous battle here for the win. And 2 weeks later, Gilles Villeneuve died. And I replaced him in that car, and for some unknown reason, there was kind of a magical feeling between the Tifosi and me. And I qualified on the spot in third place. It's the same spot was where Prost is actually qualified for Sunday's race. Qualified in first place, and on the spot where the car were positioned as still today, Canadian flag. And it was a long race, a little bit of engine problems toward the end. Ricardo Patrese came and over the strongest memory that remains. I think even now, Ayrton Senna driving for McLaren, wins after wins, championship after championship, one day will probably become a Ferrari driver, and he probably will have very, very strong memories at that time, even having very successful past with McLarens.
In 1985, Alain Prost took the checkered flag with McLaren, but was later disqualified as it was determined that his car was 2 kilos underweight. Elio De Angelis in the Lotus was thereby given the win. The following year, Prost won again, coasting to a stop after crossing the finish line, his petrol completely exhausted. Quite a relief for Ron Dennis. In 1989, Gerhard Berger hit the wall at 160 miles an hour and had his car burst into flames. A horrifying crash, but Berger was back after missing only the next race. McLaren's good fortunes continued at Imola as Ayrton Senna took the victory, with Prost second and Alessandro Nannini third. Last year, Riccardo Patrese made the home fans forget about Ferrari by taking only his third win in 195 starts. A very popular win for Grand Prix racing's most experienced driver.
How much of last year's victory is in your mind now as you prepare mentally for this year's race?
Zero. Last year is last year. Now we are in 1991 and I have to prepare this race completely from...
With the past are fundamental to Formula One racing. The developments of today are the result of what teams did in the past. And one team that helped set the standard is Tyrrell. Ken Tyrrell was one of the most recognized...
It was the French fuel company Elf, and they said the exposure they got from the launch of the car at a London hotel covered the cost of the sponsorship for a whole year.
Today, Tyrrell runs his team from an ultra-modern facility in Surrey in England. Harvey Postlethwaite has some of the best facilities in Formula One to work with.
This is where the story starts. This is the drawing office, and about 1 year ago, the components that go to make the racing car. In fact, as you can see, it's a pretty big pressure vessel, and of course it has to be big enough to take not only the monocoque but the engine cover and all those large bits that go to make up the car. This is the carbon fibre assembly shop. Components which have been assembled in the clean area and then passed into the autoclave for curing would then be taken from the mould, brought into here and assembled into the final component that gets fitted to the racing car. Here you can see a nose which has been assembled together with the front wing. This would now only need painting.
All the Ferrari fans, the team is improving and we hope to be in good position tomorrow.
And who will win on Sunday?
I cannot say. I hope one of the two Ferraris, which is the thing which we are working for. Yeah.
And Cesare Romiti, president of Fiat, the owners of Ferrari.
Yes, but I think that Ferrari is in good position.
And what do you think of Sunday, what's going to happen Sunday?
I hope, and I hope.
The question of the weather for Sunday's race was on everyone's mind. If it was a wet race,
they were to endure 61 laps of the 3.1-mile, 5-kilometre track with its adverse camber at Tosa and blind approach into the exciting Aqua Minerale, but would it stay wet? Alain Prost, who hates the rain, in particular remember his soggy but poor performances at Silverstone and Adelaide, was taking extra precautions. While wet tyres were also being fitted on Nigel Mansell's Williams-Renault in preparation for the sliding match. So, with a challenging, even daunting race in prospect, here's how they lined up on the grid. The first row pole position is 55th, Ayrton Senna, Patrese alongside him in the Williams. Then Prost and Mansell on row 2. Row 3, Gerhard Berger determined to challenge, and Stefano Modena in the first of the Tyrrells. Row before the start proper, but conditions were still absolutely atrocious. Riccardo Patrese there going off into that blinding spray as all 26 cars tried to make it round, but just watch Alain Prost, Ferrari's miserable weekend continued. He gyrated off going down into the Ravazza and could not regain the track. Gerhard Berger followed suit but managed somehow to get his autogross technique right, regained the track and went on his way back round to the grid. As the others gingerly went on their way towards the grid, Alain Prost had stalled. You're not allowed to restart the engine, that is it, you are out, and the Ferrari fans started to leave the track. Ayrton Senna on pole position, Gerhard Berger behind him, Riccardo Patrese alongside, no Alain Prost, just one Ferrari in the race as the red lights turn to green. A desperate fight for grip, massive wheel spin, but Riccardo Patrese made that absolutely brilliant start with this revised V10 engine in the Renault. Senna was into second place, and behind him in the spray there was all sorts of mayhem going on, but Stefano Modena had got to third, Berger fourth, and Alesi was already charging up the inside and past the Minardis. Nakajima had somehow found a way through the spray, and Riccardo Patrese up front had no spray in front of him as he extended the gap between himself and Senna. A great performance from the Italian. There was Ayrton Senna in second place. He was driving cautiously, as was an also failure for Nelson Piquet. Lap 2, he was off and into the sand at Tosa, and that was him out in the new Benetton Ford. Jean Alesi was still charging. Gerhard Berger had got past and up into third position. But Alesi was determined to get past Stefano Modena in the Tyrrell, tried round the outside, going into Tosa, and ran wide off onto the grass and into that same power-sapping sand. Could not get the power down, and that was the end of Ferrari's challenge, blunted after just 2 laps track in disgust. Senna, meantime, had closed in on Riccardo Patrese. Unknown to Senna, the Italian in front of him was having some problems with the engine. There it was, faltering yet again. Senna took the lead after just a handful of laps at San Marino. Poor Riccardo Patrese, winner in 1990, had to come into the pits looking for adjustments to this Renault engine. Patrese was talking to his crew as he came in front of his pit, trying to explain the problems. The team actually changed him onto a set of slicks. He went out, but the problems continued, and that was the end for Patrese.
Race was going well. Unfortunately, I had a problem with the engine. That electrical problem, I think. I was driving, I think, very hard to keep Senna behind, but I think I could do it. And also, for me, it was very good to be in front in the wet, because my good feeling for the race was in the dry setup. And I think if I was in front in the wet, I could have even a better chance when it was dry.
What was going on in your mind when you were sitting for the long pit stop?
Nothing, just a bit upset.
The rain eased off, the track got a little bit drier, and it became a race of pit stops. Gerhard Berger dashed in from second place for a change of in the Scuderia Italia de Lara with the V10 Judd engine. He swept past as Roberto Moreno encountered problems with the new Benetton Ford. Gerhard Berger in the McLaren-Honda lapped the 2 battling Lotus of Mika Häkkinen and Julian Bailey. Bailey and Häkkinen in the revised Lotus team had really made great efforts at San Marino. Unsponsored, unloved, and with old Judd engines, they were coming up the field. Häkkinen's parents were at San Marino to watch his performance, and Julian Bailey was delighted with his performance during the race. Roberto Moreno finally retired with a blown engine, having struggled round in 4th gear and been on the rev limiter for most of the race. And then Pierluigi Martini took 4th place in the Ferrari B team, the only cars with Ferrari engines left in the race. Ayrton Senna still cruising round in 1st place, but slackening off his pace just a little as Gerhard Berger closed in towards the end of the race, closing to within 1.7 seconds by the flag, but still a crushing and dominant McLaren 1-2 at the 3rd race in the FIA Formula One World Championship. Ayrton Senna absolutely depressing Williams and Ferrari, leaving them literally in rivers of despair. Ayrton Senna, 3 out of 3, and a lead in the World Championship. Berger second. With the demise of Ferrari, half the crowd weren't even there to witness this great 1-2 from McLaren-Honda. And an even greater 3rd place for JJ Leto in front of his home team. But poor Eric van der Poel, who was heading for 5th place, ran out of fuel and lost his chance to be in the points. 3 delighted drivers on the rostrum: Berger, Senna, and for the first time, JJ Leto. Their win had been. Leto deservedly joined the party, but let's look at the results. Ayrton Senna and Gerhard Berger, everybody else was lapped. Third, Martini fourth, but with the rash of late retirements, the battling Häkkinen and Bailey took fifth and sixth place. But had Senna had any problems?
My main problem was only the engine. The car was not perfect because it was a compromise between wet and dry, but it was good. And my problem was really the engine with the oil pressure. Somehow we had the problem with the oil pressure. I think we had this problem this morning already, and it gave a problem again in the afternoon. And it was more than 30 laps with the oil light flashing. And I dropped the revs immediately on the shifting and also on the straight, start to lift on the straight to not have much revs, and it seemed to work good to at least stabilize the engine. And then I was just trying to control myself with Gerhard, and fortunately for me, unfortunately for him, he also had some problem, and then was possible for me to slow down and still maintain some gap, and then we both were able to finish first and second.
The drivers' standings after 3 races, look at that dominance. Senna, 30 points, his nearest rival, his own teammate Berger on 10. Then Prost, Patrese, Piquet and Leto. But what of Gerhard Berger?
Then this morning, I think I had a brake caliper problem, and it was impossible to brake late. I had to brake early, had to brake down with the engine, and I just slow down and I just control the rest of the field. And suddenly, 15-20 laps later, the caliper starts to work again, and but sometimes just one side brakes more than the other side, and it was very difficult to control. I also was very lucky because in the entry lap I had in the same place as Sping than Prost, and I was just really lucky to manage to come back again.
The Constructors' Championship, as the McLaren-Honda steamroller continues, they have 40 points to Ferrari's 10. But Delara Judd in the points for the first time with 4 there. That could help lift them out of pre-qualifying in the second half of the season.
Basically, in the beginning of the race, it was very, very difficult conditions. I mean, starting from the 16th place, there was a lot of smoke and everything, and you couldn't see really nothing. And I was just taking easy, and then when we changed the slicks, it was getting better and better, the car, and I was just going for it.
Among some of the others we spoke to after the race, Mika Häkkinen.
What was the best thing, the reliability?
That's right, that was the main thing, and also I was very surprised. I started in the 25th position, and I did same what I did in Brazil. I concentrate perfectly in the race. I was looking at other cars, and I didn't take any risk, and also I was listening to what the pit crew was saying in the pit board, you know, when to change the tires, and what was happening, position, times, what I was doing all the time, and all this stuff, and everything went perfectly, and I was 5th.
But the beginning of the race must have been quite scary with all the water.
Yeah, it was first time for me racing in a wet condition, F1. It was unbelievable. It was, you couldn't see absolutely anything. Even the next car in front of you have a red light, you couldn't see that.
At Minardi, celebration.
Pierluigi Martini, very good race for you today. Tell us about it from the start to the end.
Yeah, it's been a very hard race for me because I have lost the clutch after 15 laps, and I did all the race without clutch, and it's been very hard.
A salute from Mr. Minardi himself, and
Alberto Tomba, what did you think of the race?
Nice course. Bad luck for Italian guys, for Ferrari. Congratulations, Ayrton, Gerhard.
But out on the track, the remnants of the afternoon, Roberto Moreno's Benetton.
Unfortunately, this car hasn't done many mileage yet, and as we thought it could happen, few things happen. But we are decreasing the numbers of problems we're having with the car since we first took it out. And I lost second gear first, and I managed to run without second gear through the race. And at one stage I lost 5th, and then the next lap I lost 6th. So I only did the race in 3rd and 4th towards the end. and I think the last 15 laps or something. And towards the end, the engine cut out.
So that's it from San Marino. See you next race in Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix.